Welcome back to Aware and Awake. I'm Steve Lannon,
I'm Morgan Harum.
and we are excited to bring you the second episode of the Spirituality 101 series. And this is going to be about the Reincarnation Lifecycle, which is really exciting. This talks about what happens when you die, what happens on the other side, how karma works here on Earth, and what happens before you come in. So if you had questions about those things, or you've ever wondered what happens, is it just nothingness? We don't think so. So let's get into it and let's have some fun. But before we do, I recorded last time by myself. This time we have Morgan with us. Let's hear a little bit about Morgan.
So, hi everybody. My name is Morgan. I'm a certified medical support clinical hypnotherapist. Steve and I met in hypnotherapy school. He had all sorts of interesting things to talk about when we met and lured me in. I hadn't met anybody else that had been so interested in these topics that I'd been interested in for a long time. I grew up really curious about the power of my mind, and as a teenager was exploring how can I learn how to astral project, or how do I manifest things, and I didn't really know anybody else that was really into it. Then I found yoga and meditation, and that's where I was able to start opening up my horizons. And the yogis for thousands of years have been interested in the power of the mind. What we meditate on is what we grow in our abilities. So they say, oh, meditate on levitation, and you can levitate, right? So learning that stuff was really intriguing to me, and I continued on that path of yoga and meditation, and then went to hypnotherapy school to really figure out how do I apply the power of the subconscious mind to make changes in my life and then empower other people to do the same.
Great. So we're excited to do this together, and today is all about the Reincarnation Lifecycle. So let's start with talking about karma. Karma is one of the rules of this world, and it's really about the action-reaction system. So tell me more what you know about the action-reaction system of karma.
Yeah, this was something I learned about in the yogic philosophies. We do something, right? And then there's a consequence to that, and that can be good. And then we receive good karma, right? And a lot of people think about karma just being negative. Somebody does something bad, they get a bad reaction. And it's not meant to be like punish and reward. It's really meant to be a way that the soul learns. If I act in harmony with the world, life gets better and more enriching and beautiful. And if I get off my path and start harming others, well, now I'm not in harmony, and things go a little bit harder, heavier, more painful.
So it's not really an eye for an eye, is what we're saying. If you get killed in a past life, you don't have to kill that person in the next life, or even, whatever. You don't have to kill the person in the next life to even that karma out. Really, it's a matter of having the wisdom, so bringing forth the knowledge. So this is something we do in our sessions sometimes, is bringing forth knowledge about, like, okay, why did you do it? Let's relieve, let's have that understanding of why we did it. Let's say we killed somebody in a past life. It's pretty heavy, right? We've probably all done it. So we killed somebody in a past life. Well, how do we alleviate that without having kind of eye for an eye karma? We can alleviate that by having a life of service, a life of helping somebody. Maybe, one way to alleviate that would become a caretaker for somebody. If you set up a life where you come in to become a caretaker and you're really taking care of them their whole life, well, it's kind of like the opposite of killing somebody. And if you're being that wonderful, loving caretaker that person needs because they can't do what they need to do, that can really even the karma out. That can satisfy that karmic need. This is a rule of Earth. So this isn't necessarily a rule outside of the Earth system. We just know it's a rule within Earth. So reincarnating here, even souls that come from other places will actually experience karma. Unless they have some kind of agreement to not take on karma, they will actually experience karma here. And so some people come here, and since this veil comes down, right? This veil comes down on us when we're born, and you don't really know what you're doing. You get caught up in the things that this world has to offer. There's lots of crazy stuff out there. There's sex, there's video games, there's gambling, but there's also a lot of lovely things there, and really the object is to get back to get back to connecting with one another in harmony, loving one another, and finding that within ourselves, finding that purpose within ourselves. So karmically, you really want to ideally tap into that inner part of you and allow yourself to express yourself genuinely. And we talked about this I talked about this in last episode of like that expression can really help you bring forth that positive karma that can satisfy karma for you in a life. And so service, harmony, using love for decision making, all those things can help you with your karma. What else do you want to add about karma, Morgan?
Well, I had a thought when you were talking about that like maybe because I grew up eating meat, I'm like, oh, I love animals, and now I have animals that I just care for, and maybe that's balancing the karma out of like, oh, like I participated unknowingly in like the factory farmed, meat industry for so long.
It's Morgan's plug for diets.
Oh.
So yeah, she brings up a good point though. You bring up a good point. It's eating meat and that might not be in alignment with who you are and your deepest expression. And so you found that through your life. You ultimately gave up meat, right? Mm-hmm. And at first you became a vegetarian, was it? And then you became a vegan. And so Morgan's vegan, and we eat mostly organic. I'm vegetarian, she's vegan, but it's in alignment with who we are. And so, my understanding about diet is that, you just follow what you feel right to eat. So some people need to eat meat. They actually need meat to feel balanced in this world. Yeah. But Morgan followed her path, and it probably there was a couple shifts along the way, right? And then you figured out that that's what you wanted to eat, and that's what your body needed, and that was best for you for your expression in this world, right?
Yeah.
So relate that back to karma for everybody, just to help satisfy this.
Yeah, I was just, you were talking about, like, if you killed somebody, and then in the next life you're a caretaker, and my understanding is souls advance, we can heal our karma, and like, I've always used the term, and I don't know if this is right, but, like, burn through karma, right? Karmic lessons, we can learn them a lot quicker as we advance. And so I wonder, I just wonder if the people that, like, they take care of pets or they take care of animals, are they like balancing out the karma that they, because there's humane ways to get meat, and then there's like less humane choices, right? So me participating in like the standard American diet of like factory farmed animals is taking care of these animals that I have now, cat and horses, and is that balancing that out?
That's a good question. And we don't know a lot of stuff. We're just going to talk about what we do know. So the fun part about this is that it's not all known. So there's a lot of exploratory measures out there, that people are taking to find out what this stuff is. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you brought up, you said the word advanced a couple times. That's what our souls are here to do. So this is a little segue into the next thing. Thank you for bringing that up. It's another way to balance karma, right? Potentially. It's really service. Service to others can be service to people or animals. Service to the world. So if you're making the world a better place in some way, happier place, more harmonious, and more in balance with nature, I think that's karma. That's karmic in the positive, right? Mm-hmm. That's adding to your karma battery, or it's relieving old karma that you might have stored up. So Morgan said the word advanced. Our souls are here to advance. This is a school. So Earth is simply a school to learn and to grow. Call it a virtual reality if you want, but it feels pretty real when we're here. You're here for a whole life, and you're here to learn, right? And we're here to make mistakes, grow, and figure things out. So let's start with that life cycle of how we come in. Why don't we just start with before we're born? Let's do that. That's fun.
Yeah.
So before you're born, you're on the other side. First of all, souls are eternal. So let's start with that.
Yeah.
Souls are eternal. So nothing can really hurt me. This body can be hurt, but this body is something these bodies are something we're temporarily inhabiting, right?
Right. They're like vehicles or outfits we wear, or vehicles we drive for a period, and then it gets worn out. And then what do? Well, time to get a new one, right? Like the car's turned into a lemon. I'm gonna go get a new car.
I like that analogy. It's like our soul is like the driver of the car, right? And then it's also limited by the brain and body. So our soul might be bigger than the car itself, and brighter and more beautiful, but the car kind of limits the experience. Like you have to stay in the car during the life, right? So you can't go running around, you're in the car. You can't do certain things because what can you do in the car? You're limited in your experience. And so that's a really good analogy. Yeah.
I think too, like our souls, like in books we've read, right? Like Journey of Souls and stuff, and it's souls
Michael Newton,
have
yes.
souls have personality, like, and so the personality of the soul is part of how, like, why do you end up in a certain car and somebody else ends up in a different one?
Right.
And it's like the personality of the souls, like picking the car in a way, just like how drivers pick their cars, right?
Right. Yeah, so the car kind of, is what you pick to come in. So that's a good, getting us back on track, thank you. So we pick the vessel to come in, and we pick our parents because that's who creates the vessel, who creates the vehicle. And so my understanding is, and more, I think our understanding, let's just say our understanding is that, and you can always correct me if your understanding is different than mine. We're allowed to differ. So our understanding is that you come in and you have choices as to how you can come in, but you've developed a certain thing you want to accomplish. Maybe you want to work on self-love. Maybe you want to work on service to others. Maybe you want to work on what are other examples of something somebody might come in to work on, do you think? Like anger issues, or
right, like maybe you got hung up in a past life about a lesson, and gosh, you might have had a couple opportunities to learn that, but it was just too hard, and so you come back in to complete that lesson, whether it was like a specific relationship with another soul that is playing out that needs healing, or it's learning to express yourself authentically and like be who you are.
Yeah. So really, yes, you're coming in to figure that out. You might be completing a karmic cycle that you started before. Sometimes it takes multiple lives to do this, right? Like people have tried to learn one lesson across multiple lives, and if they can't get it in that life, when they die it's okay. Like it's okay. It's like, here's what you learn to do, here's what you learn not to do, and then you come back in with a different plan, with a different body vehicle, and a different maybe a different part of the world, with different parents, to try to give yourself another chance at it. And when you pick those parents, you're picking that environment which is going to inspire you to accomplish what you came in for. And so some people may pick challenging parents, right? Just like you pick, the car can be a Ferrari, or the car can be, an economy car, right? But you're picking your parents to give you that chance, right? So if people are like, I didn't pick my parents, they were crazy or they were awful. Well, maybe they were awful because that was what you needed to get out of the house early, become independent, and figure out how to accomplish what you came in to do. So imagine that anything like that, if you can see it with a different perspective, a different lens, it may make more sense to you. So I encourage everybody to just take a breath with that, and maybe just consider that there might be a different perspective and something more at play there, rather than thinking about all the hurts and things that happened when you were young, perhaps.
I think like the idea of choosing our parents, like while not everybody's ready to accept that, it's like how did my parents, if it was a challenging situation, how is that for me? Well, now that might lead you to why you chose your parents, right? If you can figure out like, why is this relationship for me and helping me grow?
Yeah, and that can really help you with your relationship with your parents, right? If you don't have much of one, if you can consider that they have different lives, they came in for different things, and they represent the best chance for you to do what you needed to do. It might not be pretty, it might not be the idyllic childhood, but it might be exactly what you needed to get where you needed to go in your life. So consider that. So you come in, you're born, right? And by the way, even when we're born, when we're pre-verbal and we're not even able to like walk or anything yet, we're still picking up energy from our parents and information. So in hypnotherapy, we take people back sometimes to a natal regression, where they'll pick up things from when they were in the womb, and take on programming as early as that for this life. And so consider that we're being programmed as soon as conception happens. We're starting to be programmed through our life. So let's talk about that, because that can be like a challenging topic for people, is like that when you're in the womb. There's a good word for it. I can't remember.
I don't know.
There's 3 trimesters. There's a 9 months. Okay,
Right.
And you're going through this part. Our understanding is that the soul comes and goes from the actual vehicle because it's pretty boring in there. You're just kind of blah 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 blah. You're not really doing much. The body's in there growing, but the soul comes and goes from the body and kind of makes sure things are okay. And if things are not feeling okay, or there's something wrong that they won't be able to accomplish what they're coming in to accomplish, they may not come in. They may choose to not come in, and then that could cause a stillbirth. That could cause something to happen.
Or does another soul enter in at that point, you think?
Or another soul might enter in at that point. It depends on whether, because if the baby's going to come out a different way, or something's going to happen that's going to be challenging in one way or the other, it might be a good lesson for another person to come in who needs to learn that lesson, right? And then, go ahead.
I'm curious what you think, like, if the soul's coming and going, if the soul's gone, is programming still happening? Because is it like the body and the subconscious are there and absorbing the energy and thoughts and words that mom and dad are saying? Or if the soul's gone, is that like a time when there's no potential for picking anything up?
I've never been asked this before, so we're on the spot. I would tend to veer towards yes. You're still picking up the programming because the brain and the body filter our experience, the experience our souls actually get to have in this world, and so the brain may be picking things up. I don't really know, but I would guess that yes, the energy of mom is still going into the brain and body in some ways. The cells are being affected. The DNA could be impacted in some way. I would say yes, but again, that's just my personal opinion. So you get to decide what you would decide. What do you think?
Consciousness is everything, right? It's like in plants, like they've proven plants have consciousness, and so that makes sense. Like that a growing fetus and baby has consciousness, even if the soul's kind of in and out.
Right. Everything is energy. So just because the soul's not there doesn't mean it's not still growing. People go out of body. We'll talk about this another time. People go out of body and their body still is there, functioning, breathing, doing the normal things to stay alive. It knows to do those things. So very interesting. Anyway, that was a good, interesting question. So you come in. Oh, let's talk about this too. And this can be triggering for some people. Again, so if any of this stuff is not for you, please just don't watch. But otherwise, watch with an open mind, if you will. So abortion, again, a challenging topic for some people. When a couple or a woman chooses to abort a baby, on the soul level, it's just that vehicle just comes out of the rotation, and that soul is fine. It's just this meat vehicle is sacrificed, and that soul, a lot of times, what we've found through our reading and research is that soul will actually hang around and wait for another chance. So let's say there's a teen pregnancy, right? And mom's like, this is not time, and so mom terminates the pregnancy. And then 10 years later, she's perhaps in her 20s and ready to have a baby with somebody. And then the same soul might come back in and say, these are the same, this is the same person. Maybe it's a different dad, but it's the same person for mom. And it might actually be still an idyllic way to come in, an idyllic person to come into. So sometimes we've heard that before, that the souls will actually just wait for the next opportunity. We don't know what they can see. Can they see into the future a little bit and understand there's going to be another opportunity? We don't really know. But they might see that, and the thing is, there's nobody really hurt by that. The only hurt comes from if mom feels guilt or something like that. That's karmic. That could be something that they need to process. We don't want to walk around with a lot of guilt from things like that. Ideally, anything to add to that? I just said a lot of words. So
no, I don't know. I think you covered it well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a free will place, and our opinion is abortion is a free will choice. So it's if that happens, that's okay. On a soul level, that's not a bad thing. It just happens. It's okay. It's not negative karma. It's not positive karma. It just is, and it shifts what the soul will do that was coming in, and that's really all it comes down to. So all right. So the baby's growing. Okay. So back on track here. Baby's growing, born, right? And there's this thing that we call the veil, and the veil is something that's perhaps it's part of the brain and body. It's really part of this world where you just forget what you're doing. And you forget everything that you knew. So let's say you had 1,000 lives. You're like wise and, really all knowing quite a bit, and then you come into this world, right? And you just know nothing because you get this veil that comes down that basically cuts off all that access. It filters the soul. You had something to say.
Yeah, kids sometimes don't have that veil, right? Like they remember their past lives. I feel like when I was like 4 or something, I'm like, I'm here to love. Like that, I was like, this is my purpose in life. And like, I don't know where that came from, but like, I was like, this is clear in my mind. And I still remember it was like a very like vivid moment, you know?
That's
it's
really,
like,
go ahead.
So it's like, I feel like that veil starts to develop, I don't know, when the critical factor comes in, like 7 years old or something.
Nobody knows what the critical factor is. Keep going, please.
Critical factor is the part of your mind that discerns what's programming. A lot of people in common language call it the monkey mind or the inner chatter box, but this critical factor develops between 7 and 11 years old, and that's when like we listen to the telepathy tapes all along, and we love it, and it's like,
thank you, Kai.
Kids seem to have natural psychic abilities, and then between like 7 and 11, like as kids get older, if they hadn't already developed that stuff, it becomes just a little more challenging because critical factors in the way being like, people told me that I can't do this, you know?
Yeah, so the critical factor develops, and that causes us to have more discernment. What does that have to do with the veil? It might have everything to do with the veil. We don't really know. We know when I was little, I don't remember any information from past lives. Now, some kids come in and they have a lot of information from past lives. They remember, there was a popular story about a kid who was he knew he was a fighter pilot in World War II and went down with his plane and would have like night terrors every night as this 5-year-old kid because he's, scared of dying because that wasn't processed, when he finished that life. We'll talk about that later. So there's a really cool group down in Virginia, in Charlottesville, Virginia, with UVA called the Department of Perceptual Studies. Short is DOPS. And we have a friend down there, Marietta Pilivanova, and she actually works with DOPS. And they have like hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of these cases documented where kids are experiencing and remembering past lives. Like usually it's the life just beforehand. And a lot of times it seems to be connected to maybe a traumatic exit from the world, and that residue seems to stay around, and at least in the early part of the next life. And then when the kid gets to be a little older, it kind of goes away, right? That could be the critical factor coming in. So very interesting. However, the veil is here, and it limits our perception of our soul. So when Morgan was feeling love, right, that was a little part which was able to come in through the veil. So it allows some things to come in, but the brain and body, I think they're part of the veil. They're part of that filter.
Right.
The veil is involved in the brain and body. That is like a box we put over this bright orb of light. And then in this life, we try to just poke holes in that box and have that light come through. And as that light shines through, we're like, oh, okay. And then we poke more holes. And so that's really what I feel like we should be doing in life, is poking those holes and finding that light and finding out who we really are. You had something to add.
Yeah, that part of this body creates this illusion of separatism, right? Like, I'm a separate entity from Steve, and I'm a separate entity from the cat sitting on my lap, and everybody else in the world, right?
There's a cat right here. Yeah.
We're separate. That's the body. But really underneath that, at soul level, when we are this orb of light, like, all the light is together and one and unified. And so poking holes in that lampshade so that our light shines out, it's like letting go of the identification with the body.
Yeah, that's why, and that's a really good point, because in meditation or hypnosis or deep prayer, even in sleep, we are essentially finding those holes, finding that light, and we're tapping into that. When you go into meditation and feel that wonderful feeling of bliss or oneness, you're tapping into that aspect of yourself that's connected to everything else, because we are all connected as one. Really good point. I just burped, so I had to like let that go. Thank you. So yeah, it's interesting because this also brings up, how powerful we are really underneath. And we are like an aspect. It brings up two things. We are an aspect of source. Okay, so source, you can call it God, source, all that is, the universe, the divine, nature, call it what you want. But if that higher power, basically, we are like a fingerprint aspect of that higher power. We're here to experience other in our own special way, right? So I'm different from Morgan, and we're both different from everybody else in the world, and we all come in with certain gifts and abilities and things that really want to be expressed. And when we express those things, we feel more joy, fulfillment, love, and unity in the world. And so this is part of what's meant to happen. This is part of this light that needs to come, that wants to come out. It's like that light within us wants to come out in this world to show our expression. And so we have to find that by poking holes in the box or the lampshade, whatever you want to call it, and find that light and then bring it out through our voice or through our maybe dance or whatever it is, through our creativity, to bring that into the world, to bring something into the world that's really for everybody. It's a gift not just for yourself, but it's for everyone here to experience. And so if you find yourself not wanting to talk or not wanting to express yourself or not feeling like you can express yourself, you're actually withholding beauty from the world that you have within you that should be shared. And so if it doesn't feel safe to express or it feels challenging, you can work on those traumas, work on those things that make you feel unsafe, because those things, those blocks are gonna, when you get those out of the way, they're gonna allow you to have a better life, just a happier life. And everyone around you is going to benefit from that. Every single person will experience that new you as you improve yourself, as you look within and release those blocks. So I know we're getting a little off track here, but this is a wonderful time to just say, this is what this light's all about, right? Anything to add?
No, I don't think I have anything to add to that. That was really well said.
Okay. Do you want to take us to the next part of life as we grow up?
So we're growing up, and challenges arise, right? Like life situations always are happening, and it's like, how do we respond to that? And I think, the ego wants to respond a certain way sometimes, like that thing that wants to keep you protected. But that protection sometimes is the separate thing. Like, think about, it's like we learn in school, like competition. I got to get the best grades. I got to make top dollar at work and all that, right? And that's like ego. And then, but if we can uncover that light within and respond to that challenge or life situation by tapping into soul or the light, then we can find out the most positive way to respond. So if I'm not going from that need to protect self-driven behavior, and I'm instead, what is the way that we can respond with love and that creates harmony and connection, then instead of adding more lessons to learn, we aced that one, we can move on, and then we can learn the next lesson and advance that way.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's like, as we said, this is an earth school, so you're learning, right? And speaking of schools, a lot of cultures in this world aren't really teaching that, right? A lot of cultures in this world, not every culture, but a lot of cultures are teaching competitiveness and how to get the most resources, right? Collect resources. And by resources, I pretty much mean money in this world. It's like collecting money or collecting things. They're teaching us that in schools. Oh, here's a math competition. Here, go outside and play some soccer and see which team is best. See who's the best player. It's all very egoic in a way. And so we need to gradually shift this stuff. We can still have fun with sports without the focus on just beat the other team and they're bad and we're good. It's like, no, we're all out here to have fun, and let's make it fun. And then you can go at it and use your ability. If you're a star soccer player, be a star soccer player, but maybe feel, have that unity with everybody and that harmony. So we don't teach the right things in schools for some of this stuff because we're not really teaching to work together. Sometimes we are, but I think there needs to be a lot more focus on harmony and unity and knowing we are all one, and we don't need to be competing, because if we're not competing and we're working together, guess what? We're gonna make things a lot better for ourselves because we're gonna be looking out for one another. So we go to school and we learn in school, right? And some things we're taught are with that kind of in alignment with what we're talking about, and some things aren't in such alignment. History, we're not going to go into this heavily, but the history of what the schools teach you is not really the history of the world. And so we're going to go into that in a much deeper dive in a future episode. But just know that the history of the world is not what they teach you in schools. What they teach you in schools is academics' best guess at what's going on. But they don't have that much information. And there's been a lot of times when things have been stopped from being uncovered to tell us what our true origin is. And so we'll be talking about that in a future episode. But just know that, the pyramids are very likely much older than 4,000 years old or 6,000 years old. And there's a lot more information there that we'll uncover in a future session. So you go through school. What then?
Well, you go on living your life, learning the lessons, right? And then eventually your body wears out and you die, right? And so what happens then? What happens when you leave your body?
Yeah, that's good. So your body wears out, right? Or you might exit through a sudden, catastrophic thing or just an accident or something. Either way, your body's done, right? Your body's finished living and your soul has to exit. And so as your soul exits, a lot of people that work in hospice care, they say that they get a lot of experiences with the person who's dying, starting to see people around them, that aren't really, that people generally that have passed over before them, that have transitioned before them. And so the veil is starting to thin for them, is my awareness. The veil is starting to thin for them, and it's really starting to open up to that tap. They're getting ready to cross over. They're getting ready to go to the other side. So they're seeing these things. They're essentially raising their vibration in a way. So dimensionally, they're raising their vibration to a higher vibrational level. And so they're experiencing more than the nurses in the room or the doctor or the people visiting them who are saying goodbye, because they're able to see things at a higher level, a higher resonance, maybe even into a slightly different dimension. And so that happens quite often for people that know they're going to die. The people that die all of a sudden, I don't think they get that chance. So what happens with traumatic deaths?
Our understanding, right, is that sometimes the soul is surprised, right? Or not even aware that the body's gone, right? And so they might linger around.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost imagine they're still trying to go through their normal life. And then all of a sudden, maybe they realize, hey, this isn't quite normal anymore,
Yeah. Yeah, at some point you hope that they can figure it out and move on to the next step. Because there's multiple steps after death, right? Mm-hmm. And so some souls get stuck. And they get stuck because either their belief system, and perhaps let's say they were heavily religious, right? And their belief system says if you sin, you're going to hell, right? Well, they know they did some things that weren't so good. They might not have told anybody about it. Maybe they didn't even talk to anybody else about it. I just said that twice. Anyway, they did these things that they consider to be really negative, and so they figure, if I stay here, I don't have to go to hell. So if I stay here, I can stay here as long as I want. Some people might call this purgatory. My understanding is this is where you find ghosts, and ghosts go back to the places which are most comfortable to them, or where they remember, or if they had a traumatic exit at a certain place, they might be kind of roving around that place, wondering what to do. So you might see the ghost around there, and it's really just a different resonance of a person, right? It's like the soul moving around trying to figure out where to go next. And so there's people that go out there and go into meditation and find these souls and help guide them to go through the tunnel. And we'll talk about that in a minute. To go through the tunnel towards the light. It's like the classic cliche, towards the light. That's really it. Sorry, I have the cats moving around. This is Fajar. Oh. Say hi to everybody. Yep, we're not going to move toward the light right now. Okay, go lay back down. Yeah. So when you pass over, you want to move towards the light. And generally there's going to be people there that that are going to show up as you knew them. As a soul, they may not look anything like what you knew them as here. But let's say if it's like mom or dad from this life, they'll show up as mom or dad, so you recognize them, you can greet them, and they're going to help you transition through the tunnel over to the other side. And what happens then?
You might meet with your guide, right? And just to back up a little bit, how do we know this? Well, there's been a lot of people with near-death experiences that all say the same thing. They went through this tunnel of light and they ended up in this beautiful place, met by familiar people, right?
Right.
And
they had a choice whether they wanted to continue passing over or come back. right?
Yeah. And then the other source is all these like amazing hypnotherapists that have led people through and gained information from people who are like, oh yeah, I went through the tunnel and then now what? And oh, I met with, my mom was there or my dad was there,
Right,
right?
right. That's the Dolores Cannon, Brian Weiss, Michael Newton, and others that have had clients go into these experiences where they're actually able to bring this information back, which is amazing, right? Because we don't have most people, unless they have an NDE, a near-death experience, they don't come back, right? They can't report back, and people that have NDEs only get to a certain point, and then they either come back, or if they keep going over, we don't get to know that information unless you get it through hypnosis. And so these people are going back, and it's called interlife, life between lives. So that life that's between your incarnations here on Earth, you're in interlife, right? And so that's when you're going through those steps, and that's where those hypnotherapists have brought that information back from. Deep meditators have also brought the same information back. It's all in alignment and resonance with each other. This is just the sources we found. So if you have other sources out there, please comment below and let us know what the other sources are, because whenever these sources line up across time and space, across millennia, and across all these different sources, whether it be books or podcasts or things from like long ago, it's fun when that all comes into resonance, because it shows that that's what that's the real underpinning to our reality and the truth behind us. So, okay, they cross over. If they have a traumatic death, they might get stuck. If they have a deeply religious, faith or belief, they might get stuck there as well, depending on what they did during life. And so when they pass over, they come through the tunnel, right? And then they meet with their guide, you were saying. What do they do with their guide?
It's like a life review. I almost imagine it like you're watching like the reels of your like family home videos. This is like you and your life, and you get to like,
might be good, might be not so good. Yeah, we'll see.
Some moments are probably really beautiful and joyous, right? And you get to re-experience that just like when you're watching a movie. And then other moments, it's like, oh, you hurt somebody, and you get to review that and maybe experience the pain that other person felt from that. So that, again, it's not reward punishment. It's here's the learning that's available. So just by going back and reflecting on it and seeing it and experiencing it, you can integrate that knowledge and wisdom so that for the next life you can do better. Right?
Yeah, and if this sounds heavy, it's not heavy on the other side, because our understanding is it's like an unconditional love. As soon as you cross over, you just feel this unconditional love, support. Your guide is there just loving you, just giving you love and showing you, here's what could have gone better. We can work on this next time. It's fine. Here's what you did really well. That's great. Again, it's like they're just loving you, and there's just pure love on the other side. So it's a wonderful thing. There is no hell. This is just everybody experiences going across. I have to put the cat down. So everybody experiences going across and then going through this life review. And then what happens after that?
Sometimes souls need some rest, right? They need to just decompress, because life on Earth is intense, right? We go through a lot out here. It's like we're here to learn, and a lot of sources say like this is like a hard school, that it's like uncomfortable, that there's a lot of drama because we have just human nature, right, where there's war, and there's also like passion and love, and it's like all this yin and yang, like dark and light, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of souls take some time to rest.
Yeah.
But then also, don't they keep learning, right? It's like you're over on the other
side. You learn on the other side. Yes. There's a school over there. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. And just to go back to what you were just saying, as Bashar would say, Bashar is channeled through Daryl Anka. As Bashar would say, this is coming to Earth is like a masterclass of soul evolution. So you're already a highly evolved soul if you've come here, because this is not an easy place to come. There are many choices to go when you come in to incarnate or just do something. You don't have to incarnate. It might even be just a light body where you're not incarnated in an actual body. There are many choices you have. This choice, really, that you've made is to come into something that will boost your evolution very quickly. And so it's also a place that's challenging, right? You collect karma. Some people might say you get stuck here because of the karmic cycle. However, you're learning very, very quickly. And so that's the risk, right? You come in here, you don't want to get wrapped up in the karmic cycle, especially with negativity, but you come in here and you evolve your soul, right? And you evolve your soul very quickly. And so just if you're here, which you're watching this, so you must be, right? Then you are innately worthy and you are already like full of amazing things. Just poke those holes in that lampshade or that box, and you'll find more of that wonderful light. So yes, on the other side, you cross over, you go through your life review, and then you rest perhaps. Especially if you had a challenging life. There's a lot of lives that, people probably got tortured, or like, they might have been in prison, or had just a hard life of labor perhaps. And so maybe they just need to rest for a while, and there's a place to go and rest and recover. And it's very all wonderful and beautiful, and it's there for you to recover, to prepare to come back in to do something else, to prepare yourself to get back to that point where you feel like you can come back in. And so there's no there's no real time on the other side. This is an interesting aspect. Time isn't the same. It's just not. Time is a construct of this world, of this reality that we call it. And so you might be resting for, we don't know how much time. You just rest until you don't need to rest anymore, and then you can come back in. But even if you rested for, let's say, like 5,000 years on the other side, you would still come back into your next life here, perhaps a year later or an hour later after you passed. It's not really relevant to one another. You tend to have lives in sequential order because that makes more sense for how you experience progression. And so when we go into past lives and past life regression with hypnosis, we tend to go back. We don't go forward as much, though there is a way to go forward. Brian Weiss wrote a book about that, and that's very interesting. But going back, there's more certainty because that's what you actually lived. Going forward is potentiality because you haven't lived that yet. And so, when you're choosing to come back in and you look at your past lives and you look at what you've done in your most recent life, that kind of helps you decide what to do next. So coming out, if you had to go rest, you rest. Then you come out of there and you go to some schooling. Well, first of all, how are you organized over there? Before we go into the schooling, how are you organized over there? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, you meet up with your soul family, right? So that's like anywhere from several to up to 20.
I think it's 20, something 20, like that. Yeah.
20 souls, right? And isn't everybody in your soul family, they're all on a similar level of learning?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I think maybe you start there, but like when people evolve at different rates, you still maintain the same soul family, but you might kind of move faster than some, or you might move slower than some, and that's okay. You still have the same soul family.
Okay. But
you might have different interest groups outside of that soul family, which will help you with your current progression. That's my understanding. I think it was from Michael Newton. You're not all the way through that book yet, but that's what Michael Newton wrote about how souls work on the other side. So yeah, several to 20 people, your soul family, and these are souls that are kind of, it seems like they were all maybe created at the same time. They were all put together in a pod. And if you imagine it like a leaf on a tree, right? Soul families might be related to one another, and there is an oversoul for multiple soul families. I've heard some sources say an oversoul has around 500,000 souls, but it varies drastically depending on what's going on. And so an oversoul, imagine that being the tree, okay? So there's trees. You've got a branch. So if you meet somebody from the same branch, but a different soul family that's on a different, it's like the same branch, but a different twig off that branch, you might feel a pretty good connection with them. But your soul family, your immediate soul family, if you're incarnating with them or you're experiencing life with them, you're going to have a deep connection with them. And then as you go down the tree, you'll have connection with people that are on the tree, but then there's a whole forest, right? And so these are all the people in the world, and people beyond that. Like we have 8 billion souls in the world, but there's billions and billions and billions of souls beyond this world that are sometimes coming to Earth or sometimes never coming to Earth, that are doing their own evolution in other ways. Anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. So we want to establish that because it's important to understand that, like, we have these family units in this world, which culturally are different depending on where you are, and so on the other side you have the soul family, and they all welcome you back. It's just complete love, and you know each other really, really well. And you may incarnate with some of them, or almost all of them, in different times, and they're going to help play parts for you to process your karma, and you're going to help play parts for them to process their karma. And so sit together at these tables. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's talk about school first, because that's the next part of that. So school, they have these schools where they teach you about different things like how to be a better person, how to do better on Earth, how to figure out how to have a better life, things that you might completely forget when you come in, but there's going to be little resonances of that come through the lampshade or the box. So you want to talk more about that? No?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. So just know there's schools. We don't know a whole lot about them. We just know there's schools on the other side where you learn things. And you get to meet with people who are going to teach you maybe more things about your path. There's also this thing called, there's these councils that help you decide what you're going to do next in your life. And so now we're almost full circle, by the way. So we're getting into planning for the next life, right? So you've rested, you've met with your soul family, you've kind of gone to school maybe for something or another, then you're kind of planning your next life. Well, you meet with this council. This council is a group of higher evolved beings that are going to help you decide on what to do. And my understanding is they give you some suggestions, okay? Now it's free will on the other side just like it is here. They give you some suggestions and they say these would be wonderful for you to evolve your soul at the next level. These would be great ways for you to do that. And so they present these to you and you get to choose. So let's say you choose to come back to Earth to incarnate. Let's say if you have karma here, you kind of have to come back to process that karma at some point. But you don't necessarily have to, you could do a whole another thing for a couple lives and then come back here and finish your karma. So they help you with these suggestions. So let's say they give you 4 options to come back in, right? Here's this set of parents in India. Here's this set of parents in Paraguay. Here's this set of parents in the US. And here's this set of parents, in Australia. So, you're gonna look at all those and you're gonna get to decide which one makes most sense for you. And your guide helps you with that. So your guide is also let's talk about guide for a second. It's also a higher evolved being. They're slightly higher evolved than you are, and they're going to help you make those decisions. They're going to help you see the positives and the negatives of potentially choosing a decision out of that grouping. Oh, this could inhibit you from having success, or this could boost you in having success. And they can help you make that decision a little more. Your guide is there just completely loving you and helping you. It's really like a coach or something, like a teacher or a coach that's really going to help you with your soul evolution. They want every life to count. And so they want you to do the best you can when you come in for your life. And ultimately, once you come into Earth, you don't really get to experience them. So they're going to do the best they can on the other side to get you as ready as you can be before you come in. And so you meet with this council. They give you recommendations. You work with your guide on the recommendations. You choose something, right? And then what happens?
Well, then you come into your body, right?
You come in. You are born. So. There's a conception, a vehicle is created, a little fetus, right? And so you start visiting this fetus and you start, getting used to Earth again. And if you've been here, it's interesting because souls that haven't been here before actually have a tough time with Earth. And so if you've been to Earth for quite a few lives, your soul's kind of ready for that in a way, like it's more used to it and it has an easier experience coming in. So there's a lot that we don't know about, but there's things that the soul carries that help you acclimate to Earth. So if your soul has been here, it will know naturally how to be here in some ways. And what we found is that there's people that have come here that haven't been here before, and they might have a more challenging time with these bodies, with the density here. This is a very dense place to be. There's a lot of light places where you don't even have a body, or it's very just more love and less violence. But this place is a very dense place, and so people have challenged by coming in sometimes. And from Dolores Cannon we learned that some of those souls, and some souls are just implanted with lives, like memories of lives. So they'll be given 10 lives, and within the Akashic record, which is a record of all that is and ever was and ever will be, within the Akashic record they'll take these lives that this soul has not actually lived, but they'll take these lives and they'll implant them in the soul and the body, so that they can have access these. And you're not going to access them directly with your conscious mind as you're growing up unless you go into a meditation or hypnosis or something. But these things will actually have an underlying help effect and beneficial effect for you to resonate with the Earth a little more. So some people have you might say, oh, I've lived these lives. You don't know if you lived that life actually. But, if you have that if you have that information, it doesn't really matter if you've lived it or not. You have the information. It's been implanted in you to give you the resources you need to come in. That kind of wraps it up in a way. Do you have anything else to add?
Let's see. I feel like, yeah, that sums up the life cycle, and I feel like just leaving everybody with like, what do you do with this info? You know, what do we, like, if you know this stuff, now what? Like,
yeah, they're great. Roll on.
well, it's like how do we know what we came in for? Well, I feel like listening to your passion and like reconnecting to the light, you know, that is within, and the self-study. Like, how do you study the self? Like listening to content like this, or reading books that open up your mind to spiritual ideas, and connecting to yourself. How do you connect to yourself? Like walking out in nature, or yoga, or breath work, or meditation. You know, finding ways to feel at home in your body. It's like, yeah, we are a soul, but we are in these bodies, and we need to embody them, right? Yeah. So then healing the things that so that the lessons can be learned and completed.
Yeah.
So we don't have to come back another time to do the same thing over and over.
Morgan makes great points, and these are wonderful ways to take with you and to you know, step into these things. So it's really about, like you said, there's like blocks come from traumas generally. You know, a lot of people experience unworthiness or lack of self-love. Working on yourself is one of the most wonderful ways you can get there. And so what does working on yourself look like? You can be doing breath work, you could be doing yoga, you could be doing meditation. The cat's digging in something over there.
I don't know.
Fajar.
I don't know what he's got.
He's getting it. There's a bag of coins.
Oh, he wants to put a coin
playing,
on the wall.
He's playing with the coins.
He wants to put a coin on the wall.
He wants to put a coin on the wall. We've been putting coins on the wall with energy, which is so much fun. And we will do that. We will do that in a new, probably one of the next podcasts. We'll show you coins on the wall, which is a really fun one. He distracted us a little bit. Okay, thank you, Fajar. So back to it. So breath work, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, getting out in nature. These are all ways to start healing. Setting healthy boundaries.
Hypnotherapy.
But being okay with the uncomfortable, I think, right?
Yeah. Like learning about yourself. Like there's so many ways, there's so many pathways to reconnect to source, and to reconnect to that like spark of divine light that you are. Yeah,
to reconnect. Yeah, I like that. That's good. And, you know, just open your mind and open your heart, because that's really going to help you. As I was saying a moment ago, if you're uncomfortable, instead of avoiding whatever that is, which we tend to want to do, look at that a little more. Sit with it. Acknowledge it. Be like, this makes me uncomfortable, this XYZ thing, whatever it is, or this person. Why? This is all part of the process of healing, is kind of looking at that and being like, I can take a different vantage for that. I can take a different perception of what's going on there. And what is my understanding of that? So dig down a little bit, get a little uncomfortable, because that will make you a more well-rounded, adaptable person, which is going to be a wonderful thing to be in this world that we're creating. So thank you, Morgan, for that, because that's a really good plug at the end here. What can people do, right? Like, we're here. If you don't know what your purpose is, that's okay. If you're working on yourself and you're helping others, your purpose will just come through for you. You might not even learn what it is consciously. You're probably just doing it anyway. And so, look for opportunities to heal. And I guess one thing I'm going to put in too is, like, if you haven't put your own oxygen mask on yet, and you're not feeling good about yourself, it's not quite time yet to help others in a deep and meaningful way if you're not healed yet. Okay? You can help others, but you don't want to help others at that level of where you are maybe putting some of that hurt into them. So you want to heal your own hurts as much as you can, and then help others in ways that you can outside of those hurts, until you can heal them. Does that make sense?
It does, but like, don't let that stop you in helping other people. I think that's like, some people feel like they have endless healing to do, right? And then they'll never be ready.
Okay.
So I feel like it's a balance. It's a balance of, it's like a balance of both. It's healing yourself as you heal others is equally valid.
I think I know what we're getting to is really like knowing when you have the capacity to help others. When you feel like you're over capacity, you're stressed or whatever, and you feel like you have to help other people, that might be a time when you're actually not helping at all. You're actually being more of a hurt. I think that's what I meant to say, and I didn't say it very well. Morgan corrected us. Thank you, Morgan. So recognize your capacities. When you feel that capacity, let people know, hey, I'd love to help you. I cannot right now. I need to recover my energy. And find those places. This is another thing, right? Find those places that you can go on a daily or weekly basis, or a place that helps you heal, helps you feel well. For some people, it might just be being at home, sipping some coffee in the peace and quiet, listening to the peaceful music. For some people, it might be walking on a trail. For some people, it might be doing some exercise. A lot of times, getting out in nature is very healing. But find your place where you recover your energy and can get back to yourself. We'll talk more about that in a future session because we should also be doing some annual revitalization as well, which is like that big recovery. But we need a daily or weekly regular recovery place to really bring ourselves back to ourselves, to recover our energy, so we're ready for other people.
I wanna slightly disagree with like an idea of recovering because, like, yes, our physical bodies and minds get tired, but at soul level, we are infinite energy. And remembering that. So when you talk about like going into nature or doing the breath work or going to a retreat or something, it's like you're just in the process of remembering that you are infinite energy. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm feeling lower, like I've been drained, is like reminding myself there's infinite energy within and all around me, and all I have to do is invite it back in. I can just imagine the light flowing. I like using my hands, or my forehead or whatever, but I like I imagine it like a faucet just flowing on and coming in, and yeah.
Okay, so that's your process, and that's great for you. Find your process.
Yeah.
Call it recovering, call it remembering, whatever it is. It's how you feel better. It's how you feel more yourself, right? It's how you feel back to being able to help others and help yourself. So help recognize those, and don't be afraid to set boundaries, because boundaries are really helpful for people to understand where you're at, and so that you can be the best help when you're able to be, and when you're not able to be, you can tell people, I'm not able to be that right now. Can we schedule tomorrow or next week? Whatever. Let me help you then. When I'm feeling a little more able to do so. So this is what we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our passion. We love doing this stuff. This is Aware and Awake. This podcast will be going on for I don't know how many episodes it's going to be for Spirituality 101, but this is our first series before we break into some of these topics into a deeper dive. So this series is really sequential. Again, like last episode, you want to watch them one by one. Watch episode 1, then episode 2. This is really going to give you that basis foundation for how this place works and what is really going on with spirituality. This is a lot of fun stuff. Some people think, somebody's spiritual. What does that mean? Well, this is kind of what it means. This is what the underlying pieces and facets of that are. So we're excited to bring this to you, and we will be back with episode 3 sometime soon. So tune in and enjoy. And yes, you have something else to say.
Before we quit, yes, that if you're local to Baltimore, we do an OM group, right? It's the Awakening and Understanding of the Metaphysical. That's what it stands for,
there's
right?
a good plug.
It's May 31st, Sunday from 2 to 4 at Ruscombe Mansion. It's like in the Hill House, so you have to go up the stairs to the left, and then there's an entry door there.
So just remember, people could be watching this in like 2 years. So this is 2026.
2026.
It's the last Sunday of every month, and so we do not.
Thanks for that.
We do not have a web presence yet, but if you would like to join the OM group, which is an in-person metaphysical discussion group, and you're in the Baltimore area, please email me. And I'll put that resource below, so you can email me, and I'll add you to the group list. and you can get the information about how to join the Ohm group. There is no web presence yet, so it's just kind of a small, casual group. It's a lot of fun, though. We get to discuss things like this, and everyone gets to share, so we all get time to talk and question and answer, things like that. So thank you for that plug. And it's free to join. There is no cost. So, come out. It's really for everyone. It's for everyone, and there's no requirement. Anyone can join as long as they just want to discuss while respecting one another and not, and basically, having fun and expressing themselves without hurting anyone else. So, yes. All right. So that wraps up episode 2 for Aware and Awake. We had a lot of fun today. Thank you for joining us. And join us for episode 3. We'll be excited to talk about, what are we talking about in episode 3? Do we even know yet?
We'll decide soon.
We don't even know yet. So we'll decide. We have a whole bunch of topics, but we haven't figured out what we're going to do yet. So the mystery is there, episode 3. Anyway, join us soon. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you then. Take care. I'm Steve.
I'm Morgan. Thank you so much for exploring with us today here at Aware and Awake.
While these topics can feel sensitive, they help us reconnect with who you truly are. We encourage you to express yourself genuinely, safely, and in celebration of your uniqueness.
And we all deserve to both give and receive love, so love yourself, love your fellow souls, and love this magical place we call Earth. And if this video resonated with you, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel and share this video with a friend.
We're all in this together, and these simple actions can make a huge difference. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you.